Oh, I'm so excited.
Hi. Hello.
Yay. Hello, everyone. Give everybody a second to hop on here. While we're waiting, I guess we can. Oh, what's everybody currently reading? I mean, I just finished the Wallflower Wager, so that I'm not currently reading anything. But if y'all are currently reading anything,
I just finished that one today.
I don't know the title. Give me a second.
Yeah. I had to pull up the title too.
Hello.
I'm reading Lady Wallflower by Scarlett Scott.
Oh, fun.
Oh, I just read that one.
Yeah.
It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
This is on Audible Plus. So
yeah.
Plus, ooh. Hello.
I'm reading Glitch by Brianne Michaels. It's a novella that Lacey recommended. They're two gamers. They would play like games, I don't know, like Call of Duty and stuff online together, and then they finally meet in person, and it's very sexy. It's a novella.
Oh, that sounds really good.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my book on the floor. I was trying to move Dare. This is book 2. Oh, have you read it? Have you read it? I am loving it. This is book 2 of the Forever Yours series by Cara Bastone. I fell in love with her Audible Plus, actually. And it's so funny because the Audible Plus are all these meet cutes. And I thought, oh, this series is going to be the same. Oh, it's spicy. Oh,
it is. It's very different from, it's very different from those novellas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you read book 1, B, in that series?
This is book 2, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you read book 1?
Yes, I did.
Awesome.
I loved it.
That's my favorite one.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. That's my favorite one.
Okay. Oh, good to know. I'll keep that in mind. Yes, I'm enjoying it. And I think so far I am enjoying book 1 more than well.
Hello, everyone. Also, while you're in the comments, you can just go ahead and let us know like what ratings you gave this wonderful series. And then I guess we can go ahead and kind of jump on into everything. We've got 3 books to talk about today. So we've got a lot to discuss for sure.
Yes, we do. I'm so excited.
I am planning to read this one soon because I've heard it's amazing. I really want to read it soon. Okay, so let's go ahead and just jump on into the Duchess deal. Yeah, in the comments, also let us know if you're rereading these books or reading for the first time, as well as your rating. This is my 3rd time reading these books. And my rating didn't change. I gave them all 5 stars the first time, and they're still 5 stars this time. So, I'm like the biggest fan of this series. So.
Yeah. We saved the best for last.
Yeah.
We really do. I'm like Rachel. I think it's my 3rd time rereading these books. I don't know. I think I read them before I started using Goodreads, and I gave all of them 5 stars. For some reason, I gave the Governess game 4 stars it was like 4 stars on Goodreads, and I was like, what? Like, what was I thinking? Did I accidentally click 4?
Me all the time when I do rereads, I'll go back and I'm like, why did I give that rating? Like, I think at one point I had Again the Magic as 4 stars, and I was like, who did this?
Not 4 stars.
What? Yeah, that was a slip. That was just a slip, I'm sure.
Yeah, 4 stars. That's solid. So I read the Duchess deal. That was the only Tessa Dare I had read prior to this read along. I read it because of Rachel. And this one, because you guys know I'm last minute about everything, I kind of skimmed this one because I had already read it, but 5 stars, definitely so good. The Governess game, I gave 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite in the series. And then the Wallflower Wager, I will give that 10 stars. Like, I loved that one. But out of all the series that we've read in the read-along, or just Tessa Dare in general, I definitely think this one is her strongest. I think, like, her side characters, the girl gang, everything. We'll get into it, but I loved it, so. Go ahead.
What about you, B?
Well, this was my 2nd time rereading all of these, and I loved it so much. Not Governess game. I always do that. Duchess deal, I had 5 stars. still 5 stars. And governess game, I did 4.5 stars before. I'm sticking with it because Chance did get on my nerves a little bit towards the end. So I'm sticking with my 4.5 stars. Wallflower Wager was different though. I gave it 4 stars the first read through, and then today I upped it to 5 stars.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Hey, I love that.
Oh yeah, so
cool.
good.
So I guess we can jump on into Duchess Deal.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I realized reading it this time around is I feel like this is the perfect historical romance to recommend someone who has like a low attention span. Because like every chapter, there's something crazy going on or hilarious or like an amazing steamy scene. And like this series as a whole is just like so efficient in that way. Like there's no wasted space on the page. But like
I love that.
In particular, like there's something going on all the time. My God.
Yes, truly. And the zingers keep coming.
Yes.
Everything.
It was so funny. It's such a funny book.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Tessa Dare is like one of the only authors that can actually make me like yell laughing out loud.
Yeah.
Usually when I'm reading, I'll like smile when something's funny. But like she makes me just straight up laugh out loud. And thank goodness I live by myself because otherwise someone would think I'm losing my mind or something. I don't know.
That's
yeah,
great.
it is her best series. Like overall, like I liked every single book in this one. So
Yes.
It's a good introduction to historical romance too.
It really is. I mean, that's why like when I did make a historical romance for beginners video, like this was the first series that I brought up. I'm like, if you're gonna start at all and you have no idea where to go, like this is it. These 3 books.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes, the Dr. Seuss reference. Was that in Duchess Deal? Like, was that something Ash? I think Ash said something that ended up rhyming like that, and he was like, "What am I doing?"
I didn't catch that. I totally missed it.
I wonder if I highlighted it. I don't know.
That's
I have this hardcover of it, so I can tap it.
That's beautiful.
Hardcover.
Yeah, they have hardcovers of this whole series.
Mine's
That's
upstairs. Yeah.
beautiful.
It is beautiful. When
Yeah.
I heard you, it sounded different when you grabbed it. Speaking of, I have a book I need to fix. Hold on one second.
But yeah, I do remember there's he's like telling Emma something and he's like, "What am I doing?" I'm like rhyming. Like well, him and his like Shakespearean insults and stuff. Like
I love that. I love that. He just
And I
throws
love
it.
that
It's
continued
so
in the rest of the series too.
Yeah, it
Because
goes
he's
throughout
doing
the
the
rest of
other
the series.
Let me know. Hi, it's so good to see everybody.
Hi.
Good to see you.
I hope I sound okay. I'm in my car and it's, I don't want to be disruptive with my background noise, but I had to like check in and I've been watching since the beginning during work. So I made it out to my car. I'm so excited. This is like top series for me. I think she ended on the strongest note. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the wallflower wager. Can't wait to talk
Yes. Yes, I know. There's just there's so much to talk
Yes.
about with this series and with these characters and okay, so I'll focus on the Duchess Deal because I'm gonna jump all over the place if I don't. But like, yeah, like I can't get over how like funny Ash is, even though he is a grump. And even though, like him with the Shakespearean insults, and like there's like amazing lines of like there's one I highlighted. Gosh, I'm gonna have to find it.
There's a
Where
million.
he says something about I love just like sitting in a chair and laughing ominously at a list of people that I hate or something.
Oh my gosh, his little sidekick who like adopts him, like the kid adopts him.
Yes.
So much going on in this book with Ash. The fact
Yes.
that he's the monster of Mayfair.
Yes.
And he's going around, terrorizing people. And then, of course, he is like, when he's gone for Emma at this point, and he goes and terrorizes her father.
Yes.
That part was everything. The ghost? I was like, oh
Yes.
my God. Ash!
Yes. I loved it. He's talking about his I love it so much. Oh my God. Yes, the girl.
Oh my God. There's just so much
Yes.
going on in this book that is just so, the cat and Tom, his butler, like,
Yes.
Peaches the cat.
Oh, I love this. I love the Lady of the Manor thing where they, like, from the very beginning, they're like, you're going to save us. He's been driving us crazy. He never goes out. You have to fall in love. I love that. I love that Lady of the Manor trope where all of the servants fall in love with her as well. So that was just everything. It was absolutely hilarious. How she, like, eavesdrops on them trying to, like, figure out how to make them fall in love.
That was great. That was
that's like the Beauty and the Beast vibe. You know?
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? I laughed out loud. I think I was crying. I was laughing so hard. It was their first or second night together. And he leaves because he's so flustered. And then his robe tie gets stuck in the door. And he opens the door and Emma's like, yes. And he goes, oh, I just came back to tell you that I didn't change my mind.
Oh, are you coming back?
That's right.
I love this. There's a lot of steam in this one. There was a lot of steam. I was like, this is basically like she's gonna do her duty. I was like, okay. He's trying to make it about just the duty part, and I love how he's like just slowly falling in love with her, and is like amazed that she's actually into him. That she, like, her running joke of calling him darling, sweetie pie, like
the nicknames.
Yes. But that is like
come up with
Dare's like specialty is her balance of steam and romance and hilarity. Like she hits every single one in every book.
Yes.
She really does. She really does.
And she's cutting me deep. Like the last one, I was freaking out. All of the backstories are so well thought out because they like fit with each other. Like the heroes and heroines fit so well with each other. Like I love how he's like, you're a vicar's daughter. He's so and then when you find out like what that actually was for her, like the toe moment, the toe.
I know, poor little toe.
Oh
no!
Like,
oh my God, Tessa! I'm laughing, I'm swooning, and then she like weaves something in like that to where I'm like, now I'm like hit every single time. Now I'm going to be gleaning for it if book 4 ever comes out because she consistently did that to me where I'm like falling in love with them and then I get something like a gut punch like that. I was like, oh my gosh, her toe and like what that meant, her leaving home and how he's like, you're perfect. You're perfect. I'm like, oh my God.
And that's the thing with her books too, is that like all of these emotional changes, they don't come out of nowhere. I think she does a really good job of transitioning the reader from these absolutely hilarious parts of the story to some of these more heartbreaking parts, because not only do we have like Emma's backstory, we have of course Ash's backstory and how he really sees himself as a monster now. And you know, like there's so much. Oh, and then with the woman that he was gonna marry, like all that shit. You know, like.
And that could have gone the other woman route, and it didn't. I was like, this is so nice because, you know, and I love how we go through her thought process, like in the opera box, where she's like, I don't want to believe her. Things are lining up. Things are adding up. And then he just interrupts it. Like, it's like, let's just nip this in the bud right now. Like, I'm just going to interrupt this. And it could have gone the other woman route, and it didn't. Like, and this, it was so good. It was so good.
I think it's still my top favorite of hers. Like, it's just so well done. Like you said, like all the points, all the emotional points hit perfectly. Somebody just brought up, when they were stranded together and he hears her like opening up.
And
then she's like, oh no. And he's like, what? And she's like, your staff orchestrated this. We are trapped together. Because they want us to fall in love. What? Oh man.
I
love the names. So I remember like Lambkin and like Wienerbrot and like.
I that. She's like, I can't tell them I'm naming an animal. Remember, like she kind of like.
Yeah, because she's looking at his breeches. Yep.
And how lovely, like I loved this full circle moment because I first time reader. So when we got to Penny's book, it finally hit me like who she was within the story. But for her to open her home with open arms and give her like a friend group as a new duchess, you know, like insecure about her past. I loved that. I loved the female friendship.
Oh, I love a girl gang. I love the female friendships in any book. Like that's one of my favorite tropes. Like why I like the Wallflower series so much because I hate like a villainous heroine like being or like the other woman trope, like you said. So when I found that the side characters and the side friendships were just as lovely as the actual romance.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and those parts brought me as much joy as the main romance. Like every time we would have scenes where like all the friends are together, especially like it happens so much in Wallflower Wager where they're all together.
Yes, you know? I love that so much.
And like you said, there's no wasted moments in Tessa's books. Like those side characters are going to get a romance. She's going to tie everything together, and she uses those moments of the girls confiding in each other for the heroine to talk through her relationship rather than it being like an eternal dialogue like a lot of authors do. So it was just perfect. I love the friendships.
It really was. And I love how it almost is like that running joke, like if your best friend gets married, you get a husband too. It felt like that. Like Ashby was so active and the other romances and so protective and like, you know, taking on Chase reluctantly and becoming best friends. Like they all become their own little family. I loved that.
Yeah, it's so like sweet and wholesome and just like once again like her books just make me feel so cozy and so happy. You know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it makes me want to try sham. Kind of want to taste it.
Oh my god. I think what Girl Meets though is that like to me these friendships just read as like softer. I'm not sure why. It's just, I don't know. Spindle Cove is more about like other things almost, whereas like this series can just be about this like sweet, wholesome friendship group.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like proximity wise, they're closer. Like they live closer. Like in Spindle Cove, one, you know, we had a road trip going on, another went to London. So they kind of were separated outside Spindle Cove too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And Spindle Cove, it's like these friendships too were a little bit more organic and by choice. Where with Spindle Cove, I mean, this is the respite from society where you get a bunch of personalities and storylines, and they're like doing life together, and it's like I like the periphery view, like any Duchess will do. I loved how the different perspectives that we got, but like, you know, they're forced proximity. They're on this island starting over together, where in this series, I loved how it felt a little bit more organic, and they kind of found their tribe among the 10. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's it. I love that.
I really
I love that we get to see like the whole arc of their friendship group as well. Because like we said, like Penelope takes her in immediately, takes Emma into their little group immediately. And then I love like, because she makes Ash come to tea one day.
I love that.
Penny is immediately like love bombing him basically, and just you know, of course he has to taste the sham. But, it's just this is just such a wonderful story. And I think like Marriage of Conveniences and like Scarred Heroes are always going to get me in a way that maybe other tropes don't. And I just think it's just so well done here.
Yeah.
You know?
It's beautiful.
Linda, I think that's Wallflower Wager.
I think so. I think so too.
I think that's Wallflower Wager. Actually, I know it is because that one was my favorite.
Yeah.
It is.
He's supposedly writing a letter, I think.
Yeah. He's not writing a letter, but oh Lord.
Too funny.
Sorry, B, what were you gonna say? Go ahead.
Who, me?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say something.
Well, I'm just gonna say my favorite part in this whole book was when, you know, he doesn't believe that he can accept love. He's not ready to hear it. And then that one of those last love scenes when she says, "You're going to tell me something, I'm going to do the opposite." And then when he says, "Don't love me," and she goes, "Too late," and he's like, "Don't say the words," and then she says, "I love you." That is of like all the historical romances I've read. That is one of my top moments in anything I've read. It just killed me. It was so good.
Oh yeah, that is
So
such
good.
an amazing scene because it also plays into the emotion. It's not just a physical scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so much more than that. And it reminded me a bit of the scene in Any Duchess Will Do when he's like reciting all of his titles and then he says, "And I'm your slave."
Yes.
Like, you know, it's just like, it's so good.
So good. There's so many moments like that where she revamps like conventions within romance. In the very first book of Spinal Cove, when it was like, "No, my body is mine, but I'm going to share it with you." I was like, okay, that's
I love that.
I forgot about that one.
So good.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I distinctly remember him saying something like, "You are the very life of me." Like, come on, Ash. He's so funny, but yet he can say like these very swoony things. Jeez.
Yes.
And how about Trevor? I loved his relationship with that kid.
Yeah, that was great.
Like, this is I love that. I love how he just totally, and it was funny because it's like tracking, like when he first meets him, he's so annoyed. I'm like, he's totally dealing with this kid, how he's dealing with freaking Emma, and he just lets him in. Like, it's just so ridiculous.
I love that it's like a Batman and Robin.
Yes.
Yes.
What was the catchphrase? I cannot remember. You've been something. He's like trying to figure out.
You've been menaced. I think it's menace.
And he's like trying to figure out just how to say it. You've been menaced.
Yeah. Okay, but also, I mean, huge shout out to Mary Jane Wells.
Oh,
the way that she narrates this series to me is nothing short of genius. I think she's incredible at doing different kinds of voices for all the different characters, and like even something as simple as that, how she put the emphasis on different words because he's trying to figure out how to say it, and I'm just over here dying laughing. Like
every book in this read along, I read the audiobook for every single one.
Yeah.
I physically read The Duchess Deal the first time, and I feel like I missed out. Because Mary Jane Wells, she's a whole other level.
Isn't she? Yes. Yes.
I was so that parrot to me. That parrot in her.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Just screaming. Very, very nice. I guess we can move on to governess so we can kind of keep things moving along. But I mean, I will just always adore Duchess Deal with my heart and soul. There's just so much to it, and it's just so funny. And yeah, like I think it's still my top favorite Tessa Dare. It just holds a very special place.
It was 5 stars for me.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Avery?
Oh, I was just gonna say that the kid and his relationship reminded me of, have you seen The Incredibles? Mr. Incredible and what's his name when they first meet?
Dead.
And so long.
Do you remember that? Like that kid? Yes. Like that's what they reminded me of.
Fly home, buddy. Fly home.
Fly home.
I love that. Grew up to be syndrome. So Ash did it.
True. That's very true. Yeah. Okay, so governess game. With this one, you know, I always have given it 5 stars, and I think Samantha, you had kind of already nailed it because you said you had given it 3 stars, and I think you did for a similar reason to why it's not my favorite. But I think Rosamund and Daisy are like the shining stars.
100%
of this book, you know, and to me, like my main problem is that I feel Chase pushed Alex away like 1 too many times, and I'm like, we gotta stop with this girl. Like,
it was not even 3rd act breakup. We were at like 4th, 5th, 6th act breakup.
Yes,
I was like, how many times are we going to profess our love, get together, and then break up? Like, it was like 6 times. I was like,
it happens a lot. Yeah, it happens. It happened a lot for sure. And like, obviously, I get I get it. I get his past. I get the motivations and stuff, but it was too much. I was like, we got to stop, girl.
And I thought maybe it's personal preference because I love a hero that knows they're not good enough for the heroine and they don't care. So for me, that's what I like to read. So I'm like, maybe it's just personal preference, but like this, like I'm not good enough and behaving as such isn't really cutting it for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, Chase, like, but yeah, I felt like that too. It was too much pushing away.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think Tiffany said it earlier that nothing is like shocking or out of left field, like everything comes together, but I feel like his past, to me, I was like, I didn't really get that vibe when I first met him. Like his past was a little like, I feel like it could have been more fleshed out, and the way it was told to us by Ash just saying it like really quickly, I was like, yeah, I guess I kind of understand, but also you're pushing her away too much.
Yeah.
I agree.
To me, this one just isn't quite as perfect as like the Duchess deal and the Wallflower wager.
Yeah.
However, somebody brought this up. I mean, come on, Millicent's funerals.
The best.
Right.
And like we had to give the eulogy. Like I highlighted all those parts.
Yes. And I love that away they're able, like, I even forget their names. I'm horrible with names, but the hero and the heroine of this one, how they connect is literally by the only time they maybe even see each other or touch is when they're holding hands during the funeral every morning.
That's right.
Yeah, but I distinctly remember a quote where he's like, Millicent was such a devoted friend and she was always there, except when she rolled off the bed. And he's just trying to make Alex laugh. And
I know he's saying, he's like, ashes to ashes, wood to wood. I was like, I loved it. I loved those girls so much.
Oh my God. And I love how she figured out a way to be their governess and like all like the pirating and like
wasn't that so creepy? I loved that storyline. I just think that the way that she wrote the kids is probably a favorite. The way that she wrote the children was probably a favorite. Rosalind and Daisy, oh my God, they were so hilarious. And their backstory on why, like, Rosalind didn't trust anybody. I loved that track. And his relationship with them and the reasons for why he couldn't let Alex in. Like, I loved the moment that he had with Rosalind when Alex is done and she walks away, where they're like, when she, after they ran away and they come back. I loved that scene between Chase and Rosalind. And I loved the scenes with the kids and the pirating. And they were learning, okay? They were learning geography.
Yes.
When he catches them playing.
Yes.
The play in between the beds. I could picture that scene. It was so hilarious.
And I love how she cut up the lines of text and mixed it all around. So the boys are doing things like gardening. And they're just like, yes. That's awesome. Way to teach up.
Man. It's just so
Liz,
good.
I liked that part where like potentially they were, his father's children, so his siblings, half siblings potentially, and like the responsibility he felt and how his whole staff could potentially be his siblings. And that made me realize, like, for me, that fleshed out his character a little bit more than just being this rake.
Oh, absolutely.
I totally forgot about that. That's like the perfect meet cute and how he remembered her the whole time.
Yep.
Man, maybe it is a 4-star. Maybe I'll bump it up one rating.
Yeah, there really are some shining moments in this for sure. And I love like how supportive he is of like her career with like the stars and like, like all of that. And I think like y'all have already said, like, I think this is probably the best example of like children in a romance novel and how it can work and not be annoying. Because some people don't like kids in romance novels because they find them to be annoying or they find that like, they take away too much spotlight from the romance maybe or what have you. But like this is just so well done, and like this series in particular is like an illustration of like how well Tessa Dare even fleshes out these little side characters and how much they can shine just as much as the main characters.
Yeah.
And we truly have that in every single one of these
Yes.
Yeah.
books.
I feel like this book in particular hit all the like trios of love. I forget what they're called, like agape and stuff like that. Like, because you had the romantic love with him, then you had the, you know, like maternal love with the kids, but then you had the love of your friends. It was like all three different ways of how she loved people, and it was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
That's such a good point. I love that. It's so true.
I'm so glad I got to read this again too, because this is so random, but you guys might actually like to hear this. But this book by Christina Britton, Some Dukes Have All the Luck, this is the first in the Sinful Spinster series. I was reading this arc at the same time I was reading Governess Game for the first time. And it's almost exactly the same plot. Like he has two girls who might be his half sisters, and he needs a marriage of convenience. So actually, that was the difference. Like, he immediately wanted to marry. And that was a big difference. But it was hard to decide, honestly. By the way, his name is Ash, to make things more confusing.
There you go.
He's very similar to Tessa Dare. But if you really liked this, I highly recommend. I can't figure out where this camera is. I highly recommend this series too. This is the first book in the series. The second one was also insane, but it's very similar. But Tessa Dare does it well. But it was hard for me to decide which was better. But they're very, very similar.
Yes.
So anyway,
I'll check that one out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Daisy, they were such a delight. And I will say, despite I did rate this one 4 stars, it was my least favorite in the series. But one thing I definitely liked that she highlighted, that, you know, even if the steam wasn't penetrated, like they didn't penetrated sex, outside of that could still be steam. Like, it's still sex. I think sometimes in books it's like, oh, this isn't steam, or like, oh, you know, I actually liked that kind of reveal on the fact that, like, no, I get around with the ladies, but we've been doing other things or other ways to like find pleasure, and I did like that was featured, and it wasn't just about penetration, you know.
And of course, when you realize why he does that, why that's a huge part of his life, like that, I will say that is a very interesting. Like, I don't think I've ever read a rake hero quite like Chase in that way, like with his backstory and everything. And like you'll see the scenes where like they're being intimate with each other, and he like goes somewhere else. He's like, he like checks out because he's only doing this to like escape his shame and his guilt.
Yes.
That's so interesting. Yeah,
that's true. And I feel like that made it even more compelling when he finally really goes all the way with her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when he decides earlier on that he wants to do that, and she's like, no, because I can tell you're not in this, and I can tell that you don't really want this, and we're gonna wait. It was so interesting how they did that.
But her books are also so sex positive too, like the women having their own agency and speaking for like what they want and their own pleasure. And I like, especially with the last two heroes, yes, they obviously wanted to make sure it was consensual and make sure, you know, she understood the repercussions, but they also were like, if she's telling me she wants this, then that is her body and her right to do so. Like, I'm not going to keep on harping on this innocence and virtue thing. I loved that.
Yeah. And I loved, like I said, that one scene where like Chase was going to go all the way with Alex, and she's like, no, because I'd be taking advantage of you at that point. And he's like, no, you wouldn't. I'd be taking advantage of you.
Yeah, you need to take a beat. Let's just come back to this. You need to feel your feelings. I was like, okay.
That's right. I love that.
Yeah, this one's just like a fun one, you know, with the kids and everything. And I love when we've already talked about this, but then when Ash comes into the picture, because I just love Ash so much. And then he's just being an asshole.
Well, now they call him the Duke of. Chase calls him the Duke of Asbury, doesn't he? Speaking of, I love that. And the time
Ash comes and is like, he's horrible, and he's like, yes, I am. That's what I've been trying to tell her this whole time.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and then so Ash is like taken aback because he's like, wait, I'm trying to tell her how horrible you are, and you're agreeing with me. Like,
that's right. Oh, I love it. Oh my god.
Fun.
I love how the heroine like tries to teach the girls in unique ways that are interesting to them. I love that as a teacher. So like I loved that part.
The
so much.
pirating is like
Pirating, the piracy, and then I remember when like he like is bringing that girl home, and then she just gets dumped with like a giant bucket of water.
Yes. Oh, that was so good.
I love pranks. I love
we were
pranks in
emptying
books.
the
Yeah. So good.
Oh my gosh,
have
yes.
to like sells the needlework to them. Like, actually, we can use it for other things. And I also like how she was like willing to work with them, bend with what the girls needed. Like when she realized, I think when Rosamund was like, well, why would I want to embroider things that are just gonna get spit up on? That, you know, like this is pointless. And she's like, actually, she makes a really good point. Like I love that. I love that.
Can't argue with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love too when he gave the book, when he got the new copy of the Stars and Nebula. I can't think of the title.
Yeah.
I just got goosebumps when I read that part when he gave her the new copy, and then he'd been carrying it around, hoping the first one that he would meet her again, and then he got her that nice new copy. I just love that.
Yeah, he does have some shining moments for sure, but I just like wish that there would have been like one less breakup or something.
Yes. Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
He just kept pushing her away, but in the end, it all worked out. And it really annoyed me for some reason the most this time around. Like, I feel like the first and second time that I had read this, I was like, oh yeah, that's Chase being Chase. But like this time around, I was like, boy, get it together.
It was like hours later. He was like, I love you. I'm going to marry you. You're my everything. And then like 2 hours later, he's like, actually, maybe we shouldn't do this. I'm like, what?
I was so annoyed. I was like, did she just say 3 weeks later? He let it sit for 3 weeks. I was like, Ashbury better get in that behind. I was so upset. I'm like, this is, don't be good enough. Don't be good enough. Let us see the chill reign, and I'm good on this. Like, I was so irritated with Chase.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Ash didn't go beat his ass or something. Lord. Yes, we can go ahead and jump on into the wallflower wager.
My favorites.
I loved it so much.
10,
I'm so happy that y'all loved it. It makes me so happy.
It was perfect. I have zero complaints. I think this is just the most perfect like dynamic. It was hilarious with the animals. I loved our hero just as much as I love Colin. He's my new. Them two were just like neck and neck for me on my favorite Tessa Dare heroes. So yeah.
Wow.
The ball he put together solely for her. Like put this giant ball together because no one would invite her to anything. And he's like, I'll create this whole entire ball for you so you can get what you want.
Yeah.
So good. And their meet cute from the very beginning. Her meet cute. I was like, this is absolutely hilarious. Like,
oh my God.
I'm like, what? We're just amping it up here. And now he's completely smitten and like almost like disrupted by her, like everybody else is. But like he's like smitten from the beginning. Like she's over here trying to fix herself in the mirror and he's like already gone. Her freaking menagerie of animals, the hilarity of that. This one made me really realize, I'm like, there have been animals throughout her entire series. The way that she uses them have always been a way to bring heroes and heroines together. I absolutely love that. And this one, it almost made me cry. Why? She found them so soothing. You know, I was like, oh my God, like she really hit me in this book. And I loved Gabe. And I loved how, like, with the third act conflict, that was a perfect example of where Chase didn't feel like he was good enough and behaved as such, where Gabe was like, I'm going to use all my resources. This is a done deal. Like, if I've got to freaking threaten, if I've got to freaking, you know, like bribe somebody, whatever I got to do, I want to make sure this is a sure thing. Like, of course I did. You know, so I kind of liked that about him, and he was able to, like, very quickly course correct. Like, they didn't stay angry for long, so I loved them.
Yeah, so he was able to admit when he was wrong, and the agency in this book, he was like, you are not a child. I do not need to lie to you about these sandwiches. They're disgusting. And then when they were like cornering him, like, what did you do to her? And he was like, she's a grown woman. She can speak for herself. Ask her if you need anything.
I'm gonna
like, I love it.
I was like, okay,
yeah, I mean, I feel like I just love this couple more and more every time that I read this book.
Yes.
And it's interesting because, this is like epitome of Grumpy Sunshine, yet Gabe is so different from Ash. They're both grumpy heroes, but like they are two completely different men, right?
Yes.
And oh my God, I love the three of them together. Like, at first he's like slamming him up against the wall and he's like, what did you do? Like you said, Samantha, like, what did you do to her? And blah, blah, blah. And then like towards the end, they're delivering a goat together.
Yes!
Oh, it was my favorite. Freaking, he was retching and throwing.
Yes. Oh, the three of them together was so much fun. That's some of my best parts of the whole book.
Yes.
So funny, the three of them together.
Yes. When Gabriel's going to be doing the duel, and they're fighting over who's second. He's like, "Well, third. There is no third."
And then at the end, when they argued about who's the real best man.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That was so great.
Oh man, yeah. I mean that. See, and some people would argue like the whole scene with the goat giving birth. Like some people would argue that that's like totally pointless and like stupid and blah blah. And I'm like, no, it's perfect. Like, like seeing these three guys together.
Yes.
He was obsessed with the goat. Like at the end, he's like, "This one is mine."
And even like little things like in the scene when they're realizing that she's pregnant and she's about to give birth, I think Ash says like, "Oh, well, she's a strumpet or something," and then Gabe is like, "Hey, don't talk about her like that."
Marigold.
And he remembered when after she had told him about her past and she was sleeping it off and after the bath and everything, and he fed all the animals and knew exactly what to do and what like they needed because he was paying attention the whole time.
Yes, the whole time.
And even there's a scene where like he names them all off, and she's like, "He knows all their names."
Yes. Yes.
So sweet.
How different from the beginning where he's paid people to actors to pretend.
Oh my God, I remember.
Oh my gosh, it was so
Like, okay, yeah, let me see this farm. Let's go back to the farm right now. He's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, the woman's like, "I have a performance tonight."
Oh, so great.
Oh man, so many golden moments and scenes in this book. I mean,
The bird.
The bird.
The last
Oh my.
line of the book is the parrot's line. I was like,
Yes!
The last line. Care for like what is it?
Fancy a fuck.
Yes,
Also, the way that Mary Jane Wells reads the freaking bird lines,
so good.
like,
I
oh my
died.
God.
That parrot's from a body house. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because Penny's just so like sweet and innocent, and she's like, "Oh, is she saying like fancy a foxglove?
Yeah.
Fancy a what?" And he's like, "No, she's saying fancy a fuck."
Yes, that was so good.
Oh man.
I like this melody because I felt like that too. She had this very like aloof hippie sort of feel to me. And then when I got the backstory to her trauma and how her childhood was robbed of her, and this whole idea of innocence and this whole romance, I think what got me, because I read into that too, how she felt a little naive, and to find out that like she's just gleaning joy and peace because of her trauma, that immediately worked for me, because I definitely felt, and the whole romance, what I thought was so beautiful, speaking of agency, like you mentioned, Samantha, is that she had so many firsts. She's gleaning her firsts with him, and he kind of like recasts all of that. I thought that was so beautiful, how like she gets to take her power back through the romance, you know, from the very first time that they have their first experience, that she's like, no, like you, I forget how she said it, how like you unleashed me. And I absolutely loved that about their romance, and he takes her word for it when he tries to like think that their time together in the alley is sullied, and she's like, no, I wanted this.
Yeah.
love that. He also was giving me Scoundrel of St. James vibes, so that's why I was like here for it. Like his whole backstory and wanting to like, scare her by taking her through his past, and she's just there to accept it and say like, no, you do deserve love. Like he just takes that on and doesn't like harp on it or harbor on it once he finds out like she's not that innocent, naive, and a delicate flower. This horrible thing happened to her, and this is how she gleans joy. And I love how she's always saying like, I know people think I'm ridiculous, you know, I know that this is a lot, but, and she's just so kind through it all and has this sunny disposition despite what happened to her. You know, like, I definitely agree. She read naive in the beginning, but I think Tessa Dare did a really good job of explaining why she has all these animals, why they're soothing, why she's like marching to the own beat of her drum, and why she's like this. And I thought it was beautiful.
And going along with their relationship too, and how powerful it was when he asks her, why are you a recluse? And she says, oh, it's because of this hedgehog story that everyone has bought up until this point. And he goes, well, why are you really a recluse?
Yeah, he sees right through her.
And she's like, oh my, she wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
No one has ever looked deeper than that. And I was such a powerful scene for me.
Yeah. Well, I loved her. I didn't think of her as naive. I thought it more of like, does not matter what you do, does not matter what you say, doesn't matter what crazy things you think about my animals. Like, this is my joy to have, and you're not going to make me change like who I am as a person just because it's not up to like society standards.
Right. Well, and 2 points about like her backstory that I wanted to bring up is that I remember like the first time I had read this book, I did kind of feel that came out of left field a little bit, her backstory. But then upon reread, especially this reread, I was able to pick up the little hints and clues about like things like shame and, you know, just random little tidbits here and there that when it is revealed, it absolutely does make sense. But also a moment that even surprised me this time around, and I just think it's so sweet, is when she tells her whole story to Gabriel. I think we all expected Gabriel to be the kind of man who maybe immediately gets angry and wants to like go kill this man. But instead he just asks, can I hold you? And it's just like, the sweetest scene. I cried at that point. I was like, I'm done.
I meant to say that same thing. And he gave her tissue when she was crying. When her voice was hoarse, he gave her water. And then he gave her a bath, let her sleep. Like, I do hate when it almost becomes like the hero. He's like, oh, I'm so angry, I can't even think. And it's like, it's not about you. It's not about you.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a very surprisingly like tender moment from Gabe. Well, although I mean we see that side of him throughout the book, but like that is just a shining moment.
Yeah. It is. Goldilocks moment. It was such like it wasn't a bookend because it's not at the end of the book, but it was a great full circle moment where from when he first sees her, he's kind of sexualizing her. He's nude. She's beautiful. He's imagining her in his bed, and that whole Goldilocks moment, like, oh, this bed is just right. But after she takes that bath and he has her in his bed, when he kind of makes that allusion to her being Goldilocks, it's a more tender moment than I would have initially assumed. And I thought that was beautiful. Yeah. Like, it was like, Gabe, you're really doing it. You are hitting all of the cylinders. And he was paying attention the entire time. Like, he was a true partner, meeting her and like making her life easier. And he saw her from the very beginning. Gosh, I loved him so much.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This point is amazing. Yeah, I had forgotten that you know how this book ends, and I knew there was something with the duel, but I remember that the duel actually didn't actually happen, obviously. But I love that Penny shows up and she's like, no, I'm taking control of this situation. This is what's going to happen now. Yeah, and. Yeah, it was just a wonderful, wonderful, powerful moment for Penny. I feel like she grows a lot. They both do. They both grow a lot throughout the book. And this is just like the perfect moment that shows all of that, And
I remember being so shocked too, because it didn't feel like a Tessa Dare to me quite as much, along with the backstory too, with the trauma, because I hadn't seen that yet in a Tessa Dare. So that was a surprise. But then and it makes sense, but her brother walks away and he's like, I'm sorry, but this is the father of my wife. And he leaves.
Yeah.
Like, obviously later on it gets better, but still it was just gut wrenching.
Yeah. That was that's very tough to read. And I loved the moment though, when he came back And he said, you know, I'm sorry that I stayed away. It's really that like I have now felt so much shame. And the reason why I appreciated that moment is because there's so many families that go through this, that have family members, whether it be their children or other relatives or friends or whatever, that went through something like that and they did not know. They had no idea. And the shame and the guilt that they would also feel with that. And I'm so glad that he came around to believing her and everything as well. But yeah, it definitely gets pretty heavy for a Tessa Dare book, I would say.
Yeah.
I did like that it wasn't buttoned up nicely and neatly though. And that in a way, I love that line where she said, I own you. Like I own it to you now. I took something from you that matters, because I would have been happy in that moment where she gets to tell her abuser everything that she's been harboring and put him in his place with her words. But the fact that she got it litigiously, she spoke money and property, which is a language that was legible to him. I bought all of your debts and now I own you. I was like, woo! And the fact that it came after their third act conflict, so it was almost like they were doing it together. I love that. It was like top freaking tier. And the moment where she was like boss bay about it, and then because her brother doesn't come with her, you know, like that moment where she like breaks in the carriage afterwards, I'm like, oh, this is just like, it's so true.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was perfect. I loved the third act. I was nervous because I was like, it's just so perfect. It was like it was perfect.
It was perfect.
For me, it was perfect.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate how relatively quickly he came around and he apologized for the contracts that he had drawn up, and how, you know, he readily admitted, I am afraid. I'm very afraid that like I'm not enough or whatever. And so that I have to do what he's always done in his life.
Yeah.
You know, threatening people and buying their debts and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Also this moment.
Oh, so good.
God.
This makes me tear up every time. The penny. So sweet.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh yes, the housekeeper.
Oh my gosh.
So funny.
What?
The housekeeper and the architect, and then
Oh my God.
And then when they've obviously like been together, and he's like, I figured out what she is. She's a succubus.
Yes.
And Gabe's like, I didn't need to know that. I did not.
That is so funny. Oh my God. Yeah, because then all throughout the book, we have these moments with the architect where he's like, I'm trying to figure out what she is. Like,
And then Gabe is like, when the housekeeper was like, I was just having fun, but I'll stop. And Gabe's like, no, continue. Keep going. He deserves it.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I love it. So good.
I need a novella of them. I would love that.
Yeah,
right?
I need it so bad.
I would
like,
love a novella, like, compilation of, like, all of those little, like, side characters throughout this whole series. Because there's, like, I feel like there's other, like, maybe little couples or something in here somewhere. But, like, yeah, like, that would be so much fun.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Something that made me a little sad was the otter. Like the otter gets away, but like the otter's been raised in captivity. So I'm like, I hope the otter's okay.
Aww. And at least it was, you know, in a river. So, I mean, you know, at least Hubert's happy, but I'm sure Hubert figures it out, you know.
I know. At least he's not a 5-year-old boy who thinks that he's a ferret. So.
Oh my God.
That was hilarious. Oh, that was who the letter was to. That was who the letter was to.
Yeah.
Writing a letter.
Yes.
Poor boy. About his ferret.
Oh my God. All the menagerie of animals. And like y'all have said, like, I just love how she uses animals. Going back all the way to A Night to Surrender, because there's a goat in that book.
Yes.
that that Bram the hero keeps saying is going to be dinner, but it's become a pet.
Yeah.
And then like all the way to and I love that like in this book, Penny tries to give the parent to Chase and his family.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, I mean the girls are already a menace. If you give them a bird that is saying this.
But then Alex is trying to be like, come on, it's a parrot. Like, they love pirates. Like, it's perfect.
Yes, that's right.
And she keeps trying to teach the bird, I love you.
Yes.
And then now I'm thinking of all the animals, and I'm thinking of the dog that played dead and say yes to the Marquette.
Oh yeah. That was so crazy.
Oh, and little Bixby in this book with his little wheelchair.
Yeah. I love that. So
Oh, all the animals. Yeah.
I like the snake bite, which led to that like sexy scene where she's like, "Listen here, I have like the antidote." That was good. The snake bite, even the rat that was being hidden, like the rat that they thought that she was stealing all this stuff, and it was a freaking rat. I'm like, yeah.
That was great.
Oh man.
What was his name? Mr. I can't remember. Mr. something.
Mr. Something.
Like, no one understands our love.
Oh.
I don't think I've read that one. Is that one of our older books?
That's the last book, possibly. Wait,
I'm trying.
in her last book in her horse series.
Oh yes,
The horse books.
The horse books. Yeah.
We're in book 1 in that series, so
There you go.
I would love to go around and have you guys say your favorite or top 2 of like the whole read along. Like, which ones were your guys' favorite?
Well, and I also have this video idea that like y'all don't have to do, but it's just like a fun way to wrap up the read along, like ranking all of the books.
I would love that.
Yeah. I thought that would be fun. I mean, I am tempted to read like the rest of those 2 series, you know, of her first books, but also like I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know when I'm going to feel motivated to read those books because I've already read the first book in one of those series and I wasn't impressed. So, you know, I might just like make the video to kind of
I would love to rank them.
I think that would be fun. So, and video to look forward to, like you said, wrapping up this whole read along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely like if y'all want to give like, I don't know, like a top 2 or top 3 right now, we can do that too.
I love Any Duchess Will Do, A Week to Be Wicked, and The Duchess Deal and The Wallflower Wager. Those are the ones that I still think about. Those 4.
Those are absolutely, I think those would be my top 4 as well. But yeah, like they're just perfect. They're just so well done. Yeah.
I would say Wallflower Wager, When a Scot Ties the Knot, and Any Duchess Will Do.
Great choices.
Mine were A Week to Be Wicked, Wallflower Wager, and Say Yes to the Marquess. I just love a big beefy boxer. I do.
As you guys are saying it, I keep changing it in my head. I'm like, I'm changing my mind. This is so fun to do.
It would be Wallflower Wager for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Romancing the Duke and Duchess Deal. Those are my top.
Yeah. I mean, the Beauty and the Beast retellings, the scarred heroes, you know, I mean.
Oh, okay. Going for the Beauty and the Beast
by the time I do my tier ranking, don't be surprised because it's so hard to pick.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, a top 3 would be the Duchess Deal. Definitely Any Duchess Will Do is in there. And then it'd be a toss-up between like A Week to Be Wicked and like the Wallflower Wager, maybe, for like the third of like the top 3. But yeah, and also what's really fun is that a lot of these books I did enjoy more upon reread in general. So
same. That's why, like, A Night to Surrender, the first book we read, like, I didn't love it the first time I read it. I think I read it twice before that point. And then this reread, I'm like, I'm obsessed with this book. Like 5 stars. Like, so good. So
yeah, it's hard to rank.
It really is. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you just based upon like books that like really make me cry are always going to be like my top favorites, and like Any Duchess Will Do for sure is in that range. And yeah, I mean, that's probably why also like Duchess Deal and Wallflower Wager, they just have those moments that like really, really hit emotionally.
Yeah. That's so fun.
Yay.
Okay, I gotta head out to work.
Okay.
Tiffany, I love you.
I'm so glad you still were able to join us.
Yeah.
This was probably like my favorite. I'm like, these are strong books. I loved this series from beginning to end. So I had to jump on. Thank you for having me. And
Of course.
Ranking video, so we should talk about it.
Yes. Yeah. Bye, Tiffany.
Bye.
Oh, I'm so glad she was able to come on.
Yeah, me too.
yeah.
But I mean, I feel like there's not much more to say here. I mean, thank you all so much for, first of all, for you guys for co-hosting this with me. I mean, this has just been so
Thank you
much
for inviting.
Fun. Of course.
I've had so much fun, Rachel. Seriously, thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, these live shows have just been so much fun to look forward to, and like they just make me so happy. You can tell I'm just so smiley.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say I do a lot of live shows. I have 2 book clubs, and this has been the most engaged live show I've ever done. Like comments and you guys, and it's so fun. It's so fun.
Yay!
Ooh, what comes after the summer of Tessa Dare? I have brainstormed like
Autumn of.
I love it. I love it.
I was reading the end of the comment. Autumn of what? Like, are we doing something seasonally?
Right. I have definitely considered doing a summer of blank, like maybe every summer from now on.
Yeah.
Just because also like with my general work schedule, like summers are more of an off time for me. So it's like easier for me to, to kind of commit to doing these things and putting them together. But I've definitely considered like doing, I don't know, like a summer of Joanna Shoup or a summer of Lisa Kleypas or
I will be back.
But definitely like for some reason, like it's the historical romance authors that are coming to me in terms of like this kind of read along, and they just bring me so much joy too.
Scarlett Scott, Rachel, Scarlett Scott.
Ooh, Scarlett Scott, man, she's got like the backlist. I know. Whenever the Bride Bet comes out, I'll do like an emergency meeting.
Samantha, you know now how like devastated we are after you read the Wallflower Wager. You're like, where is the Bride Bet?
Yes.
Where is it?
Yes,
because years
sees him, or we don't get to see him. Right? We don't see him.
He saw him, but we don't get to see him. I love how like low key she is about it too. She's like, I think that's my fiance.
Yes!
Like, what?
I know.
And everybody's just like, what?
I know. In that scene, the second she said boys are distracting, I was like, I understand now. I understand why we need this next book.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh. I know. I'm hoping and praying. I saw her tweet the other day how she was doing the Barbieheimer thing.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm hoping this will inspire her to finally finish the Bride Bet. But,
that would be so good.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely considering all kinds of things. What's that, Ava?
Oh, I was saying, and the Spindle Cove novella.
Oh, yes, that's right. I keep forgetting that she has that in the works too.
Sally Bright's book.
Yes,
that's gonna be so fun when that comes out. Oh man, yeah, that's such a fun premise. But yeah, I'm definitely considering, I don't know, all kinds of different authors for like a next summer of.
Fun.
But yeah, thank you all so much. Like Samantha said, like you guys have been so engaged in the comments, and that just makes these live shows even more fun. And yeah, like how is it the end of this? Like what? We read so many books.
I know.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Remind me, when did we start? When was the first show?
The first show was
in May or June? It was May.
End of May. End of May. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I know. I'm like, wait, it's already almost August. Like,
yeah.
What is happening?
I know.
Right.
Work starts on the 1st for me.
Oh yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, once again, thanks for joining us in the comments and everything. We really, really appreciate it. And I hope that you guys had as much fun as we did. And I had so much fun, like, putting this together and making the little graphics and, like, all that fun
Which were
stuff.
beautiful. They were beautiful.
Thanks. So, yeah, I'll definitely update when I have an idea for a next read-along or whatever. But you can always message me with ideas too, by the way. Like my DMs are open on Instagram. So
awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, that's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your summer. And I finally have new videos coming this week. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Awesome.
I finally filmed a couple videos the other day, so I'm in the middle of editing one, so I'm very excited about that.
Oh boy, looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Bye.